Just a quick screen check. Is everyone seeing that? Looks like yes.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Great. As Ash mentioned, I am Phil Mobley. I lead our tenant experience product team. In the company description, you heard kind of what Building Engines is about. And one of the major user groups for our product is, of course, the commercial tenants. Now, the thing about commercial tenants is their job is in the building, but it's not their job to be in the building. So we think a lot about that. And one of the things that we think about is how can we make it really easy to get done the work that they need to do or they need to get done as a tenant so that they can get back to the work that they do just as the mission of their organization. Low friction, ease of use, those are the things that we're really after in terms of the tenant, the part of the tenant experience that we help facilitate. And so lately, our thoughts in that direction have focused a lot on messaging, and there are reasons for that. We did some research about 12 months ago now called the Tenant Experience Gap Report. I'd actually encourage you to go take a look. Just Google Building Engines Tenant Experience Gap. You'll find that report. There's lots of really interesting nuggets of information in there. One of those is that far and away, people who work in commercial buildings prefer text messaging as a means to communicate. They prefer that more than email, more than making phone calls when it comes to communicating just in their day-to-day life with friends and family. I certainly resonate with that. That's probably my overwhelming form of communication as well. But the really interesting part of this is that most of those people are also expecting to be communicated with over the same channel, messaging, when it comes to business communications and specifically building to tenant communication. Just a couple months ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about how text messaging is starting to take over business communications. I know that I have texted and text all the time with coworkers here at Building Engines, and that is not an uncommon experience. So it makes sense that messaging, sort of is eating everything when it comes to how we interact with our mobile and online content. So that's a space that we at Building Engines want to make available to our tenant users in the name of making it really easy, really low friction for them to use. So I'm going to walk through Benjy. And Benjy is our answer to how can our platform be enabled through this messaging channel. So Benjy is a chatbot that lives on messaging channels. It helps tenants to serve themselves in a low friction, easy to use way through the tools that they already use. And then this is the real key. You don't really have to train people on how to send a text message these days. They already know how to do it. So if you can send a text message, then you can use Benjy as a tenant, and that means you can use Building Engines. So quickly, let me walk through a scenario in Slideware, and then we'll get into the product. But I want to kind of connect this and tell a story about messaging and how relevant this is. Maybe you didn't even realize how relevant it is. But let's say that the bosses are coming from offsite to see your new office, right? So I actually get a text message from Scott, my boss. He says, hey, I'm looking forward to visiting and I'm bringing the whole executive team with me so I can see the new office. And I respond, okay, we'll be ready. Well, now I have to get ready. And Benjy is going to help me get ready. I'm going to send a message to Benjy that includes the names of our executive team, lets them know when they're coming. And then Benjy is going to interpret my meaning there. Benjy sees, hey, I've got some names here. I've got people that are coming to visit Friday at 9 a.m. I'm going to set them up. So no muss, no fuss. I've got my executive team registered for when they come visit. But believe it or not, my work is not done yet because we've had this nagging issue going on in the conference room that I've really been putting off. But before the exec team gets here, I want to make sure that it gets taken care of. So some problems in the conference room, I'm going to tell Benjy about that problem. Benjy's going to confirm what type of problem this is. It's an electrical one. I'm going to provide some more context, specifically an image that I just took straight from my camera roll, and some commentary. And that's going to go straight to Benjy and then straight into Building Engine so that my property management team can take care of that. So, all right, problem solved in just a couple of minutes here from my mobile phone. But then something else happens. I get a message from my building that says that the Arch Street entrance is going to be closed for the next couple of weeks. Now, the Arch Street entrance is usually where Uber drivers drop people off at our building. So for the next 2 weeks, that's not going to be available. They're going to have to use the other entrance, the one on Holly Street. So kudos to my building staff for proactively letting me know about that. And now I need to let Scott know. Oh, Scott, by the way, the building just said the main entrance is closed, so tell your driver to drop you off on the other side. So again, I haven't left my mobile phone. I haven't even left my text messaging app. And I've registered visitors. I've got a work order in progress, and I've received some pretty important information from the building that's going to affect this executive visit. So in the meantime, my crack building staff has actually already fixed this electrical problem. And so I get an automated notification from Benjy that says, hey, your electrical work order is all set. How did we do? And I'm really kind of amazed that they did it this quickly. And so I give them a rating of 5 on the 1 to 5 scale and express that I'm pleased with how quickly that has happened. So notifications is an important part of this mobile experience as well. And then the last piece of this is that when my team does arrive, and they don't all arrive at exactly the same time because maybe they're coming from different places, but I do get notifications from Benjy that say, hey, Scott's arrived, Catherine's arrived, Tim's arrived, etc., to just close the loop on that. So that's just a quick example of the use cases that Benjy is solving for, the common issues you might experience and want to be able to solve quickly from your mobile device if you are a tenant in an office building. So what I'm going to do now is share from my phone, and we can do some of this live. Okay, so here we go. This is the messaging app on my iPhone, and you'll see that I've got some messages from Benjy already. So I got a message about window washing that's happening. Where they've got circled is actually our suite. So they're going to be washing right where the Building Engine suite is, and they're letting us know so that we're not surprised when there are people outside the windows. And then you can see I've got a couple of work orders that are now open. So I created them, and the building staff has now acknowledged that those are open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that Scott, oops, if I can type, and Tim Curran are visiting Thursday at 9 a.m. And so there we go. Let's see, next Thursday, that's December 19th, 9 o'clock. Benjy knows what floor and suite I'm in. And I'm going to confirm that this is correct. And then they're all set up. Now, unfortunately, I just forgot about one of our executive team. I only listed 2 names, and there's a third, Daniel Koza, who's going to be coming as well. So I'm going to set him up now, and I'm going to show you a slightly different way that Benjy is able to accommodate this. So The great thing about Benjy is he's smart enough to figure out what I'm trying to do when I say a sentence like Scott Sidman and Tim Curran are visiting next Thursday at 9. But if I either don't know or forget how to say all that at once, I can say, I need to add another visitor. And Benjy will walk me through these steps. So in this case, Daniel Koza is the name that I forgot. What did I say? Next Thursday. Thank you, iPhone autocorrect. The time is 9 a.m. And again, this is correct. So as fast as you can send a text message, Benjy can set this up for me. Now, let's suppose that I have done all of this while I am in an Uber or on a commuter rail train or on a subway or something like that. But now I have arrived at my office, and I do use my mobile phone at my office a lot. But one tool that we use internally a ton here at Building Engines is called Slack. Slack is a business-oriented instant messaging tool, and Benjy has an integration with Slack so that it is super fast from a desktop in addition to the mobile device to interact with Benjy. So I'm going to switch back to my desktop here. And we're going to look at Slack. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show is, because this is a question that we get a lot, is, well, how do you connect with Benjy in the first place? And another question that we get is, who can use Benjy? So the answers to those questions are related. You'll see here, if I say hi to Benjy, then before I can do anything else, Benjy is going to let me know that he needs to confirm who I am. And specifically, he needs to confirm that I am an existing Building Engines tenant user. And the way he's going to do that is through this authentication flow that happens on the web. So what this means is that I have a specific set of permissions associated with my Building Engines account. And there you'll see that now Benjy knows who I am. And Benjy knows those permissions and is going to immediately present me with them. These are the options. These are the different things that I can do using Benjy. There are some people, even in our office here at Building Engines, whose permissions include things like seeing the company directory or looking at posted documents or registering visitors, but they do not include things like creating work orders. So that is all handled by the property management staff, just as it is as it has always been in Building Engines. And Benjy is smart enough to realize that. So what I'm going to do now is create another work order because it happens to be freezing in the office today. I'm going to tell Benjy that it's too cold. Benjy is going to recognize that I'm trying to create a work order. He's going to recognize the issue type, and he's going to recognize something to do with the location of where this problem is occurring. I'm going to say, yes, this is correct. And then Benjy does something interesting. He notices that there's an existing work order created by me earlier today, so shame on me for forgetting, but it's the same type of issue and it's still open. Would I like to create one anyway? Well, no, probably not. This is really the same situation as it was an hour or so ago. It's still too cold. So I am not going to create that duplicate work order. Now let's suppose that that didn't exist. And let's suppose that I really want to make a point about how cold it is in the office. this. So I'm going to send Benjy a picture. It's freezing in here. So Benjy is going to see that I've attached this file, and he's going to say, okay, great. Is this a new work order? Is this an existing one? Actually, I did just see that there is an existing one that has to do with it being too cold. So I'm going to add it to this work order. And there we go. And then I noticed that when Benjy asked which work order to attach this to, I had a list, and there was one that piqued my interest. So let me check on the status of one of these work orders. A plumbing leak issue from November 20th. What's going on there? Well, it looks like this request hasn't even been assigned to anyone. Let me check on that. I'm going to add a comment. Whoops. I'm going to try that again. Plumbing leak. There we go. My comment's been added, and I can actually confirm that by checking the status again. I'm going to choose this plumbing leak issue, and I'm going to view existing comments, and there's the one that I just made. So one more thing that I'll show you to do with work orders, and I'm going to change the share just for a second. Apologies for this. Okay, so behind the scenes, what's happening is that my building management staff is getting to work on this work order. They're going to start working on this plumbing leak issue that they have neglected for the past couple of weeks. So pretty soon, I should get a notification about that. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can contact a coworker, because I can't remember someone's phone number. There we go. Creed Barton. I was wondering what his email address is. That's the one. I don't need to see the next 5. And now I realize that there is a specific form that I need to fill out that's something to do with the building. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but I know the management staff has posted it. Okay, here it is. It was this 1099 certification. That's the one that I wanted to see. And sorry about this. I'm going to share the whole screen again. And there it is. Oh, and look, there's my notification about that plumbing issue that's now open. Now, the final thing that I'll walk through, and then we can talk about some questions, is that sometimes what we say is ambiguous, right? Whether we're talking to a person or to a bot like Benjy. So let's suppose that I say, I need to visit a work order registration. Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And Benjy is going to interpret that one way or the other. Right now, he's interpreting that as a work order. So I'm going to cancel that. Now I'm going to say, I need to work on a visitor registration. That might make a little bit more sense to a human, but to Benjy, that's a little bit of an ambiguous sentence for now. He's always learning new tricks, but for now that's ambiguous. So I'm going to try to rephrase it a little bit. Oops, visitor work order. And the reason that I'm showing this is to show that it's not perfect, but that Benjy does give you some options, right? He doesn't just leave you hanging. You can always ask for the menu. You can ask for your options. You can cancel midstream and start doing something else if you're going down the wrong track. Or if it comes down to it, Benjy will also access the publicly available building contact information, and the tenant can get help there.